Hello and welcome to the Freeze Podcast, the podcast about hip-hop chatter. Today, we have a very special guest in studio. If you've listened to the podcast for an extended period of time, you'll probably recognize his voice. If not, seen him in a couple of video projects that we did. My partner in crime, couldn't have really pulled the podcast off without him. Please welcome very special guest, Mr. Tyler McLaurin.
How's it going, BC? It's good to be back. Good to be back in the studio. Oh, wow. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So, Tyler, tell me, what has life been like since you left the Freeze?
Well, I'm in my 30s now. I'm an old man. Still don't have kids, so that's cool, I guess. Working, just living my life, in the city. I sip liquor on the rocks now.
Okay, fancy.
That's yeah. So it's a new chapter for me. I'm a real grown ass man. Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about the glow up.
The glow up for my glow up.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'm losing my hair and it's all going to my face. What can I say, dude?
Hey,
and people still think I look 22 or whatever. People are constantly shocked that I'm 31 now, dude. Can you believe that?
Yeah. No, I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah. So, I mean, okay. So I don't know how much you want to divulge. It's that's fair if you want to keep some stuff, close to the chest. So that's fair. But
yeah, man. People, they're crazy out here, bro.
Okay.
If they find out where I live or where I work,
not where you live.
These fans are rabid, Brian.
Sure. I just mean if you wanted to talk a little bit about what you're doing, or any upcoming projects or anything like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I have I feature in a film.
Nice.
I was working on a film project. I co-starred, I suppose, in a movie, a horror film called The American Bean. And it was super thrilling to be a part of that. So a lot of July this year was spent filming. So I actually just went in last weekend and we were doing ADR for the film. Yeah, so it's really coming along. They're editing it now. I've seen a very rough cut of it, and it looks really fun, looks really good.
Can you divulge the premise of American Bean?
Yeah, it's a fairly abstract sort of project. So I think everyone's reading of it is going to be a little different. I think there's some subjectivity there.
Sure.
So I only want to speak on my own personal interpretation of the material, but I would say it's about a woman who is haunted by beans.
Oh.
Yeah. She's being stalked by beans.
No pun intended.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. No, she's being followed by beans. She opens her cabinet, there's beans there, and I'll tell you, she's not interested in these beans. She doesn't want the beans. She's very much not a bean person, and yet she's finding beans everywhere. It's
I like it. I like it.
That's all I'm gonna say. I think it's really interesting, and looking forward to it.
You've piqued my interest.
Indeed. Yes. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to drop, but hopefully in the description or something of this episode, we can maybe have some more pertinent information.
Sure. I mean, that's the thing with films, right? There's delays and
exactly. I don't want to make promises I can't keep. You know what I mean? So,
but it's cool that you shot it.
Yeah, man, we shot it. It's going to come out. We're probably going to try and tour it around some indie horror festivals or some smaller video store style little indie horror film festivals, you know what I mean? We'll see how that goes, and then maybe we'll try to take it to the next level after that. But yeah, man, other than that, though, I haven't really been involved in too many artistic endeavors as of the last couple of months. I have been kind of just working, doing my thing, grinding, as it were. But I am curious, actually, because I know you and I have, we've kept in touch, but I don't know if we've really talked too much about hip-hop.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I have been kind of, in preparation for this episode, I've been kind of trying to get myself back into hip-hop. See kind of
try
where
to
we're
feel
at.
it out. Yeah. I
feel like it's really not, because we're in a very different place now.
Oh, for sure.
When we sort of retired the podcast, at least temporarily.
Yeah, went on hiatus or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we were talking about Cardi B was coming up, and we were all excited about Cardi B.
That was definitely, I would say, so before we go there, and I do want to do that.
No.
I do want to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was your favorite era of the podcast? Because I feel like there were different iterations of the podcast that we did.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you your favorite era, and then from there, favorite potential episode or maybe interview.
Right. I have two main, I'm torn between two eras. I think the classroom era is always near and dear to my heart.
For sure.
But I was really thrilled by the bar era, the King Street era.
Junction Street, or the Pacific Junction Hotel,
right. That was a pretty cool time to be doing the podcast. You know, the bar studio was very, very cool. But man, when we were slumming it, doing in the old days, man, I gotta admit I'm still a bit nostalgic for that. So
you know what? That's actually my favorite era too, I would say.
Oh yeah?
But there was something about it, right? Where it felt like we were doing something subversive.
Oh sure.
Right? Where it's like we were just kind of running and gunning, security guards knocking out our door, being like, what the fuck are
what
you
guys
doing
here? We're recording, bro. Sorry. And I remember we had like Mark Brathwaite came to like a classroom and played guitar for us and all that kind of stuff. No, that was a really fun time to be doing it, man. I know what you mean. It was very guerrilla.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like we got a lot of good guests early on. Like you mentioned, Mark Brathwaite.
Yeah.
We had Sean Sirianni, the videographer for King of the Dot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else we had on the early on. I'm sorry if I forget your name. We had the native gentleman.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Scratch One.
Yeah, Scratch One. Yeah.
And yeah, we had a lot of guests early on, so that I think also made it quite special. I would say to be honest with you, the hotel or the Pacific Junction Hotel bar era was probably my least favorite era.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it might have been just because of like the stuff going on in my life, but it was just like, I don't know. It also felt like the corporate era, if you will, kind of.
No, I know what you mean. I just felt it in a way that was cool, though. You know,
yeah,
it was kind of cool. Like, oh, look at us, we're a bunch of, we've sold out. Cool, yeah, we made it, we sold out, yeah.
Kind of, but not really. I mean, it was really nice of like Sammy to let us use that space, and it was fun for what it was, but it just felt like there were certain like obligations that we had to meet, and whether or not we met them were like, was kind of subjective, I guess.
Sure. What about the Queen Street era?
The Queen Street.
When we were in the conference room,
the Jarvis Street era.
The Jarvis Street era. Yeah. Because that one was probably I don't know. Like there was ups and downs through the whole time, right?
For sure. So
I think that was some of our. You were asking about favorite interviews. I think some of my favorite interviews actually were during that era.
Yeah.
But I also found it was a little bit weird. Like that area was weird.
It was very weird.
A lot of kind of sketchy people wandering around. And
oh God.
Yeah. That's also I think why I enjoyed going to the Junction, because it felt like we finally were out of that kind of creepy area, and now we can finally actually safely arrive at our studio, and
for sure,
it wasn't like an issue.
Yeah. I feel that.
You know what I mean?
I definitely feel that. I agree with that. I think we did definitely do some of our best interviews. We did the Plus Mo interview. We did the Phoenix Pagliacci interview.
I think that one's my favorite. You were going to ask if, just to get specific, I think Phoenix Pagliacci, that was a lot of fun. Remember cooking up dope in the crock? I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
It was a good vibe. For sure. So, yeah, I'm trying to think what would be my favorite interview. Even though the Pacific Junction Hotel era is probably my least favorite era because of the reasons I stated, I did like the Cadence Weapon interview. It felt like a proper interview.
Yeah.
I did feel like we did do a few serious interviews during that era.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm trying to think. There was like another KO, the Jamaican gentleman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was like another interview. And yeah, I think it was good in terms of like an interview setup. It just there was a lot going on with like the bar in the background.
Right? Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah. I'm sure it put a lot of stress on you to, edit all that stuff out or whatever. Was it noisy? I don't know. Like
it was a bit noisy.
It was a bit noisy.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. It's all part of the ambiance, man.
Yeah.
conversational. You know, you got to have the background, the crackling of the fire, and the rolling of the waves. You know.
Sure. So you were saying the state of hip hop. So let's jump into that. Let's feel it out a little bit.
Yeah, I want to know what you think. I mean, I have some takes. I was doing some, let's be honest, some cursory research.
Sure.
You know, I'm pulling up the Rap Caviar podcast on Spotify, the playlist on Spotify, and I'm scrolling through it, and I'm kind of looking, and I'm like, yeah, these are all kind of the same artists.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no one. I think the only artist that's kind of grabbed my attention that is like a brand new artist.
Sure.
There's like Lil Tecca.
Lil Tecca. I've never heard of Lil Tecca.
Pretty cool.
Okay.
But other than that, you know, but it also just feels like in a lot of ways hip hop. It's still, I don't know. Would you say hip hop is still dominant in terms of pop music?
Yes, but that feels like hip hop right now, in my opinion, feels stagnant, and so like. It's basically sort of what happened when we met, right? Which is what I felt. So Odd Future was kind of like that sort of like the one group that was sort of revitalizing hip hop at the time. But at that point in time where we were in uni, I was really getting sick. What just happened there? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. It switched the soundboard or the sound keys. Oh. Yeah, this... has a mind of its own.
You gotta train your soundboard.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
Bad soundboard.
Bad soundboard. No food. Tisk. Okay. Oh. You know, they say if you make a high pitched noise, that's what really gets them. That's what they register as, like, you know, bad. You know?
Oh, I just realized we didn't do the intro for the song intro.
Oh, the song intro. Okay.
Yeah. So you know what? I'm gonna do that now.
Okay.
And then cut.
Okay.
So, right. So please welcome. Sorry, I'm trying to think of how to say it. Okay, so this is the Freeze Podcast, episode 85, I believe. So.
The Freeze
Podcast.
The Freeze
Podcast.
The Freeze Podcast.
You just gonna reset the cameras now? Yeah. Might as well, right? Exactly. Podcast. Yeah.
Okay, and we're back. So yeah, we were just talking about this new era of hip hop, and you were saying you were doing some cursory research.
Yeah, well, okay, so you know what? Can we do a live experiment?
Sure.
You have your phone? Is your phone on you?
I do.
Okay, if you and I pull up the same playlist on Spotify, will it be the same track list?
Good
this
question.
This is something I'm not sure about because I know there's some playlists that vary.
Yeah.
I know I've had people recommend me playlists, like Spotify curated playlists that are ultimately like, it's just not the same track list. So,
but Rap Caviar should be the same.
You'd think it would be, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to read the first 5 songs. I got Lovin' On Me by Jack Harlow, Say My Grace, First Person Shooter, 500 Pounds, and Let Me See.
Yeah.
Is it the same? You have the same ones?
Yeah, but I do think it's different because Rap Caviar is like a curated playlist, right? So it's like, I think it's a bit different.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know, yeah, okay. So in that sense, yes, I suppose this is a decent barometer then.
Yeah.
To see what's going on, or at least what Spotify thinks is going on in the world of hip hop. And
Oh,
I don't
Lil
know.
Tech is on there.
Yeah. So it just seems to me like there are a lot of the same artists that were popping like in 2018. You know what I mean? Like it does feel a little, I guess, stagnant, you could say. But I also just think that's because if you look at what's going on in pop music, there's a lot more going on. It seems to be like country seems to be coming back in a way. You know, you have your Luke Combs and your Morgan Wallens that seem to be making a big splash. And then on top of that, you have like, you know, Bad Bunny, right? Like,
Yeah, Bad Bunny.
Like Bad Bunny is like the biggest artist in the world right now, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was huge even when we were doing the pod. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though, right? But now we all know that Bad Bunny is like actually the biggest artist in the world. So I guess it just feels to me like hip hop in a lot of ways just doesn't have that same dominance, but I think that's good. I'm also noticing there seems to be a lot of refinement. You know, it feels like in a way a lot of these genres are like solved. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
Like the pop rap, the Drake sort of melodic pop rap thing feels very solved, which is, I could be, you could see that as a negative thing because like you're saying, it leads to stagnation. But on the other hand, it means like we know how to make a really good pop rap song, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
And all of the artists making these songs are like primed, like they've grown up with this kind of music, and so they know exactly what to do to be right in that pocket. So like, I don't know, like a lot of the songs, I'm still enjoying a lot of contemporary hip hop songs, you know what I mean? But it does feel like, okay, this isn't, I'm not hearing anything new other than like Yeet, I guess, is like kind of a different flavor. I don't know.
So let me ask you two artists that have sort of been on my radar is Ice Spice and Sexy Red.
Okay, yeah, no. I got nothing, dude.
Come on, Ice Spice?
Ice Spice? No.
You never heard of Ice Spice?
I don't think so, man.
Much. Like Drake even gave a shout. Like she was like the big artist.
Okay.
But she's like it's like thoughty rap.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's good for what it is, which is kind of sort of like lo-fi, sort of like trap kind of stuff, but it's like, it's all right. She did a song with Taylor Swift.
Oh, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, that's very big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So there's Ice Spice, and then, yeah, like I said, like Sexy Red was like sort of like the other like big female artist who was getting attention.
But are they like, I guess, so they're more lo-fi is what you're saying?
It's sort of like that trap music
but does
stuff,
it feel
right?
like it's bringing something new to the table? You know what I mean? Or is it just more like another artist in that genre? That's what I mean.
Yeah, no,
I'm
for sure.
looking for sort of a little bit more of a push.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're bringing anything new. Like it, and this is the thing with Ice Spice, because like Ice Spice is like an 18-year-old artist, right?
Sure.
So she's not bringing anything new. She's still like undeveloped, pretty much, right? Which is like very interesting. I had so you know Fitzroy, right? You remember?
Oh yeah,
my boy Fitzroy.
Yeah.
So he was kind of saying like, well, you know, a lot of people critique Ice Spice or whatever, but like she's undeveloped, and we should sort of give Ice Spice, you know, room to grow the same way we would give, let's say, you know, Tyler the Creator, who had a very, you know, distinct style going in and sort of evolved over time to be this great rapper producer that we now know.
Yeah.
Who I would argue now is, you know, a legend in the making, I would argue.
From LA street tough to gay icon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real though, right?
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's my thought. And then, so speaking of which, actually, this is a good segue. Another artist, I mean, I don't believe that's the case for Ice Spice. I just don't believe that's the kind of artist she is. But somebody who caught my eye in that same vein is Lil Yachty.
Okay, yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned Lil Yachty, though, because I think Lil Yachty is doing some interesting stuff, man.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this era of Lil Yachty.
Right.
And I feel like it's... So I was kind of soft on Lil Yachty for a while. I was like, he's interesting. I still really like Minnesota.
Yeah.
I think Minnesota is still like... It's called like Minnesota. I think that song is great, and I think it does something really interesting in terms of the juxtaposing the nursery rhyme flow with the pretty spooky lyrical content about, you know, getting killed. But so I really like that song, and I thought there was potential there for sure. but I wasn't really feeling it with Lil Yachty, like the teenage emotions, the little boat too. I was kind of like, it's not bad, but he wasn't really grabbing me. But ever since Poland came out, I really liked Poland.
Yeah,
and I felt like that was when he came into his own, man. I don't know, maybe I'm missing something because I don't know. I haven't really gone like that deep into like, oh, I'm listening to every album and every feature and all that, you know. But it feels like Poland was sort of a watershed moment for Lil Yachty because you know how Travis Scott has a very particular vocal affect?
Yes.
And a very particular set of effects that he uses on his voice that make him sound incredibly distinct.
Absolutely.
I think Lil Yachty, at least I recognized on Poland, that seemed to be when Lil Yachty really like dialed in because he has this kind of wavery quality, like, you know, it's kind of, his voice kind of wavers a bit.
Yep.
And yet there's this very pleasing, just very subtle sort of auto-tune boost he's getting that feels very kind of 808-y to me almost. Yeah, I really like Poland and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then there was that new album, Let's Start Here.
Yeah.
Where and I was blown away, man. I really like that album. Let's Start Here is so good.
I agree 100%.
Good.
So
and yeah, I was just so, and he's using that same like sort of processing, and it just sounds fantastic. He has a real knack for melody.
Absolutely, I agree. I think he's always had a knack for melody, right? From like One Night or whatever that song. Remember, we did a whole episode on Lil Yachty, right?
Oh, yeah,
the Lil Yachty phenomenon. If you haven't, please check that out. You can check it out in our archives. So I'll just jump in there and say, yeah, I agree with you. I do agree that Poland was sort of that watershed moment because it was like he was doing something different and something distinct, as you're mentioning. One thing that I noticed recently, because I went back and watched a bunch of like Lil Yachty videos, even his videos are like way more like creative now. I mean, not to say that his videos weren't, like One Night was pretty creative. But he's kind of teamed up with Lyrical Lemonade. I don't know if you know who that is. Cole Bennett.
Yeah, I know Cole Bennett.
Yeah. So Cole Bennett, who directs the Lyrical Lemonade videos, they're very like artsy. What's the name of that director?
Director X?
No. He's sort of like part of like skateboard culture. He's directed like Beastie Boy videos. I forget the name of that director.
Pull it up. Pull it up.
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Pull it now. Come on.
Oh my God, that's going to bother me. But yeah, it's sort of in the same vein. Like he's doing these really like artsy, like one video, he's just in like this giant house with like these colored rooms, like these colored walls and stuff. And it's like the saturations are like really making pop. The Poland video, it's like, it kind of reminds me of the Magnolia video by Playboi Carti. With like the effects and stuff. Yeah. And then there's like the bottle of lean tied to the subway cart or whatever. Yeah. And then it's just the way that the shots are, they're really like creative shots for like a lot of like his music videos. So I think, like you said, he's in this sort of like new era. And I definitely think that album that you mentioned, what's the name of the album again?
Let's Start Here.
Let's Start Here was definitely, I don't know if I'm going to call it his magnum opus, but it's definitely the introduction of Lil Yachty to a new era, right? So I don't know if you wanted to chime in from there.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, he's doing the kind of the safe thing, though, where he puts out this incredibly ambitious experimental album and then follows it up with a very safe EP.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Which is like fine. And I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair because the EP is also like good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is also very melodic, but it is more of a straightforward sort of hip hop album. You know, it's like a four track EP. So not J. Cole.
Did you see the reviews for Let's Start Here?
I did a little poking around. I think I watched Fantano's review, you know, and he gave it like a 7, and he said it was pretty good. I'd rate it a bit higher personally, but I don't know.
So the reason I asked this is because like Pitchfork and like a couple other outlets, from what I know, is from like forums like Kanye 2, the forums, and other forums, sort of criticized Lil Yachty because they believed he was sort of like, I don't know, trying to go into this like, how can I put this? almost sort of like trying to like pivot away from hip hop into like a white space. And it was like, and so that was like the critique, but I'm like, well, this feels genuine.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I don't know, like if it was a bad project, I'd be like, well, no, he's sort of just like Kanye, right? For example, on,
whoa. You mean he who must not be named.
Right. He who must not be named.
Careful.
Did basically ripped off Death Grips, right, on that one album.
On Yeezus?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no. I think I'm softening on that take. I had that take at first.
Yeah.
But I think looking back, it does feel a little bit more like a genuine creative expression than a trend following sort of.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, I digress.
But yeah, so it was sort of like the criticism was like, I don't know, he was like ripping off like the Black Keys, or you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, if he's a fan of this kind of music, and you know, it seemed like he was. My problem with that is he's definitely trying to innovate and do something different.
Yeah.
And when artists do that, they take a risk. Yeah. And then when critics, like, it's one thing for it not to be commercially viable, but for when critics like shit on an experimental album, kind of bugs me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like history decides, right? And I think a lot of those takes are ultimately proven wrong over time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When people shit on an experimental album.
Do you remember A$AP Rocky's Testing?
Testing, yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that album?
I don't know, man. I feel like at that point, I didn't really give A$AP Rocky. I was kind of over A$AP Rocky, but I enjoyed Testing. I like what he was doing. There's that song with Skepta.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord and break the law. Yeah. So I really like that song. But I feel like Testing was good. I don't know. It wasn't as experimental as I thought it was going to be, though.
Okay, fair enough.
What you were suggesting.
Yeah.
Because I remember you were like, "Yo, you got to check out Testing, man."
Yeah, because I
see what he's doing.
I feel like he really went for it. Like he went for something different, and he got kind of shit on.
Okay.
But I feel like that project stood the test of time. Like we're saying, right?
No, but I feel, it's funny you asked me about that, because I feel like I maybe didn't give that album enough attention, is kind of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
like, as much as I listened to it, but then I was kind of like, yeah, that was cool, and then moved on, But hey, if you're saying it stands the test of time, I'll have to give it another look,
Yeah, I think it does. I may have to re-listen just to make sure, but
make sure, yeah. But yeah, man, no, I think Lil Yachty, I'm really excited to see kind of where he's going. I have a feeling this is just going to be like a one-off. But
I disagree.
That being said, he may weave a lot of these textures and sounds into his newer stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if I see Lil Yachty as being like a guy who tours with a band now for the rest of his career.
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
no, but
this does seem kind of like Drake with what is it? Never Knows Best, or
was it Honestly Nevermind?
Honestly Nevermind.
Yeah, that was like the dance album, right?
Yeah, right? Like, is that what Drake's going to do now for the rest of his career? Like, probably not. Like, you could argue that album was also just kind of a departure. Let's take a risk, let's try this, and then let's get back on track, so to speak.
Yeah, but like the thing about Drake is like he's mixed like different like elements of like different cultures and stuff, and has combined them over time. But like you said, it is like he'll introduce it into his sort of repertoire, right?
Yes.
With Lil Yachty, though, I think it's different. I do think it's a new direction. He may not go fully in that direction. But yeah, like him being on a song with J. Cole, I thought was different. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So Lil Yachty, this is what I mean, where I think Lil Yachty's strength ultimately is his melodies. I think when he gets the opportunity to just kind of, sing and sort of find his own way through a song, that's when he shines. I'm not as big a fan of Lil Yachty just like spitting,
Sure.
like spitter Lil Yachty is
Yeah.
he keeps up, I guess, right? Like I did find that because he takes the first verse and it's like pretty good. And then J. Cole comes in and he's doing the classic J. Cole thing. Okay. J. Cole, it feels like this whole era of J. Cole, the last couple of years, is him like warming up. Like he's, because I've heard something about how he's going to drop like one more album and then he's done with rap. Like he's going to drop his magnum opus. No. But bear with me, right? Like I've heard he's touting this whole thing of I'm gonna put out this like my best work. I'm gonna work really, really hard to put out my best work, and then I'm gonna kind of step back again. You know what I mean? And I just feel like every time I hear J. Cole lately over the last few years, it feels like he's warming up, It's like what do they call it when in the NBA when they like they do that. They film the warm ups or something, and you kind
well,
of
he
watch
did
them,
that. His projects were named after that, right?
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
The warm up, was it comeback season? No, comeback season was the Drake album. There was but there was one where it was literally like named after that.
Yeah, but you and I remember we were talking about how when J. Cole was shepherding his Dreamville. His talent in Dreamville, he would give them sort of lyrical exercises to try and push them and to, try and refine their talent. And one of those exercises would be that they would have to commit to a single couplet or a single syllable.
Oh, interesting.
And like write an entire song where they only rhyme with that one syllable or that one couplet and just see how far they can go before they have to kind of switch. And
it's a good exercise.
Yeah, but that's what J. Cole is doing on this song, right? Like the whole verse is like one thing. Sorry,
yeah.
it's called The Secret Recipe.
The Secret Recipe, yeah, is the Lil Yachty and J. Cole song.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's rhyming these couplets and sort of going off and pushing it as far as he could.
Oh yeah, so it's like respect, debt, neck, slept, dress, abreast,
sure.
X, step, chef, bayonet, vest, dex, blessed, Bangladesh, request, last, stress,
I don't know.
oppress. You see what I mean? Though,
Yeah.
Like, the whole song, he's just like riding that same syllable or that same sound.
Yes, but there is a theme to the song.
Oh, sure.
So I do feel like he's hitting that theme. So he's hitting, like he's checking the right boxes, basically, right? So in terms of like the actual rhyming structure, I mean, I didn't really think about that other than he did a good job.
Well, it's like you have that moment. At least I had a moment sort of 3/4 of the way through where I was like, oh man, like he's still on it,
Oh
he's
yeah.
He's still rhyming with that from the beginning of the verse, like the same sound.
Sure.
And it kind of dawns on you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, he's still going. Like he hasn't switched yet. Oh my God, right? So.
Well, there was this project that he dropped. If you could remind me the name, it's he dropped it off after KOD.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I do. Yeah.
That was like his best project in my opinion.
Oh, you think so? KOD was?
No, the one after.
The one after? Yeah.
Yeah, KOD was an interesting project, but it was like cuz he went to like lyrical levels where he just like he spit his ass off.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I think J. Cole has like a 10 out of 10 hip hop album in him. For sure,
I agree with this,
and I think it's just we've kind of discussed this how J. Cole he can kind of sabotage himself, or he's one of those guys that can be a little corny, or sometimes leans a little bit too into his own corniness. So, but no, like I said, it sounds like he's ready, man. He's warming up. He's ready to spit some crazy stuff, man. So but yeah, getting back sort of to Lil Yachty.
The off season.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. So yeah, but I do think Lil Yachty ultimately like kind of held his own. I wasn't like, oh, dude, he got embarrassed on that song or something, right? But I don't know. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. I heard an interview with the both of them together, where it was like Lil Yachty interviewing J. Cole, and they talked about how that song came to be, which was pretty interesting. So apparently, Lil Yachty had the verse, like he made it and just wanted feedback from J. Cole on it.
Oh wow.
And then because Lil Yachty sort of like now kind of connected to Drake, and Drake had been like, I guess, in the neighborhood where J. Cole was in. So I don't know, they basically linked up, and yeah, basically Cole, took in Lil Yachty's verse and was like, oh, I got something for you, something for this.
Oh, wow.
And send it to him. And
nice.
There you have the secret recipe.
There you go. There it is, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting, too, how Lil Yachty, in a way, feels like he's been given... Like, he has this friendship with Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that really interesting because, in a way, it feels like Drake is sort of co-signing Lil Yachty.
Yeah,
He's
exactly,
like,
yeah.
Kind of passing the torch, like, here you go, Lil Yachty. And, a comparison that I couldn't help but make was when I was listening to this album was like we were kind of talking about earlier, He Who Must Not Be Named with Yeezus, right? And how he was using more of those aggressive sounds, and he was a little more guitar driven, you know what I mean? And a little bit more melodic. And so I don't know, man. I could definitely see Lil Yachty being a serious contender for sort of being a flagship artist for hip hop potentially, or at least pop rap.
Yeah,
going
no,
forward,
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I kind of feel like he is in a way, at least currently, or that's like you're saying, he's sort of building up to be, right?
It's pretty good for a small pleasure craft.
I don't know. You're gonna have to, to break that down.
He's a small seafaring vessel. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know small seafaring vessels could bring hooks like that.
Little boat.
Little boat. Yeah.
Yeah, just the ad-libs, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I was watching a video earlier about that was like Lil Yachty interviewing Drake, which is so interesting because Drake does so few interviews these days.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
interesting to get a peek behind the curtain, sort of see what's going on there. But they seem to have a really fun friendship, the two of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of the Champagne Poppy,
okay,
the Drizz.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this? What was it? DJ Vlad was calling out Drake and DJ Khaled for not speaking up.
I have heard of
about
this.
The recent protests.
Yes.
Free Palestine. It's so crazy, man. When I was on my way here, I saw a dude get on the subway with like a sign.
Yeah.
He sat next to me with his big sign, and he kept like holding it up, and then he like put it back. Like every new stop, the doors would open, he'd be like, ah! And he'd hold it up, and then he would, sort of put it back. So it's real, man. There's protests every weekend here in Toronto, man. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, it's a very big issue.
Yeah.
So okay. For those unaware, basically, DJ Vlad went on Twitter and criticized Drake for not making a public statement on, the Israel and Palestine conflict. And I think this was early days, so this might have been before Israel went into Gaza and started bombing, but basically after the attack. And so I think DJ Vlad's sort of criticism was that, Drake uses, the image of like his Jewish background, and I guess because DJ Vlad is a Russian Jew.
But like, does he though? Does Drake?
Well, he has that
his Jewishness at all.
Well, he has that one video where they did the bar mitzvah video.
I guess, but I've never thought of Drake as a spokesperson for the Jewish community. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree. Well, and that's the other thing. He also gets criticism from the black community for not being a spokesperson for the black community.
But Drake's just at that level, right? Like it's like the Jordan thing. Do you remember there was some controversy where Michael Jordan was asked to weigh in on some political issue?
Oh, God.
He abstained.
Yeah.
And his reasoning was basically Republicans also wear Jordans.
Yeah.
That's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Republicans wear Jordans too,
yeah.
right? So he doesn't feel comfortable weighing in on these issues where he's going to alienate a pretty substantial amount of his potential fans. Like, why would you even do that? Like, Drake is an institution, right? Like, at this point, Drake can't be out here complaining about the state of the world, really, if he wants to maintain his level.
What's interesting about that is eventually Drake did make a statement.
Oh, did he really?
He basically signed the petition for like the ceasefire. He made a public statement saying he supported a ceasefire, which is a pretty centrist sort of position, but like, I mean,
hey, I'll take it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But and then it's so funny, the idea of DJ Khaled as Palestinian. Shouldn't he be talking about, like, shouldn't he be using his platform and speaking out? And it's like, I don't know, man. I think at a certain point, like, I don't need DJ Khaled's opinion.
Yeah. Where is Ja?
Yeah, where's Ja?
Where is Ja?
Where is he? No, seriously, though. But this is exactly what I mean, man.
Yeah.
It's like, at the end of the day, artists, I don't know if these particular artists are the people who I would be looking to for advice or for guidance in these troubling times. I don't know, man. Maybe you feel different. I don't know.
Yeah. So I'll give my take. I'm just going to cut on that camera.
All right.
So, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, like, getting these artists, like, positions, they're not necessarily known for their political commentary, right? With DJ Khaled, I guess it's a bit different. Like DJ Khaled, so the reason I guess why DJ Khaled made the news is because he got the Rolling Stone cover recently.
Oh, okay.
Right, and sort of like him sort of being this really well-known Palestinian artist. I'm trying to think what's on the cover. Like he's known as like the the most optimistic man in music or something that they called him.
Well, he's the best. They the best music, right?
Let me see if
that the deal, right?
let me see if I can find. Well, so
proud of you.
The thing with DJ Khaled is because he's so loud and boisterous.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why they would want his voice. I guess.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find DJ Khaled Rolling Stone cover. Let's see what it says here. DJ Khaled Can't Stop Winning. Search for the up close. Yeah. Up close with the most relentlessly inspiring man in music.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the tagline.
Okay. Relentlessly inspiring. Like, oh, God, this is so inspiring.
Yeah.
God. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. That almost sounds like, you know, when they say like you kill somebody with kindness and it becomes like relentlessly inspiring.
Yeah.
We the best.
We the best music. We took the door and we ripped the hinges off. We put the hinges in the fuckboy hands. Right.
But I mean, for a DJ, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like a DJ is like a hype man, right?
Or for a curator at this point, right?
Right.
His role at this point is a curator. But anyway, DJ Khaled is a very recognizable name.
Yeah.
Very big artist. Has, I guess, a lot of pull, you know, in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But like, again, like this is such a, there's so much illumination on this issue already, right? We're all already talking about it.
Yeah.
What's DJ Khaled going to say that's really going to add or be constructive in any way? I don't know.
Yeah.
If anything, it seems like DJ Vlad just stirring the pot.
Oh yeah, he did that just for engagement. Just for engagement.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking about it.
Yeah. Well, it's something to talk about.
Indeed. But yeah, man. I guess the other thing I maybe I've been thinking about a lot is you know, the big slow crawl towards robots taking our jobs.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Good segue.
Robots are creative now, apparently. They've passed the Turing test.
Right, yeah.
And they're coming for our jobs, Brian.
Yeah.
Do you think, at what point are we going to be able to completely give the reins of this podcast over to a computer?
To AI?
Yeah, like how much
after
data...
I'm dead, and hopefully...
No, but you need a certain... Don't you need, if I'm not mistaken, don't you need a certain, like,
cold
amount?
Dead hands.
Well, you need a certain amount of data to feed into the machine for it to accurately replicate your personality and your voice. And
it's a feedback loop, right? So this is the thing with like deep fakes and shit. Right?
Or you need to train it. You know, you need to train the AI with stuff, right? Yeah. So you need a certain volume of in your body of work, I imagine, right, to actually have an accurate
depiction.
Depiction, that's right. Although, I mean, AIs, they're making Biggie songs, and Biggie has like 2 albums and like some features, right? So,
yeah.
I guess, I don't know, you know? But if I'm not mistaken, there was that Drake Weekend song.
There was.
AI created, right? And it was, but the guy still wrote the lyrics. He just used AI to mimic their voices.
Yeah, the cadence.
You know what I mean? So that doesn't quite feel like, okay, we've arrived, you know? But I think, you know, I've seen AI. So someone would still have to write the script at this point. But I've also, I mean, I've seen enough AI generated YouTube shorts to know that, you know, our days are numbered, man.
So did I tell you about my experience with AI?
No, tell me.
And song analysis?
Tell me about it. What's up?
So years ago, I posted a song, or rather song lyrics to a song that I wrote. Okay. Right. And so the song.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is ringing about. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I posted it to genius.com, which is a site where people post lyrics and the interpretation of lyrics. And I, writing the song, you know, had my interpretation of the song that I wrote. Yeah. Right. And I articulated and such. And I just thought, like, oh, if I, you know, ever go back into music, this would be like a good, like, promotional thing just to push the music. Well, okay. Didn't think about it for years. And then one day I just, you know, wanted to just kind of like Google some of my old songs for, you know, just to check them out for a sec.
Just to stroke your ego a little bit. Remember what I used to be?
Sure. Oh. Anyway, I found this website that analyzed song lyrics. And not only did they know that I wrote the song, even though the song was under my artist name and therefore under a pseudonym, it actually articulated this song, the meaning, the interpretation of the song, better than I could at the time that I wrote it, and possibly even now.
Yeah, they see right through you, bud. Yeah. They see right into your soul.
Which was insane to me, which is like how... So, I don't know. So, AI is scary, right? So, I had this, like, that was like a really, like, uncanny valley moment for me, I would say. Yeah. And the thing is with AI, and I don't know if you know about, like, you know, the criticism of AI being, you know, having their own biases of the programmer, let's say, and there's a lot of, like, you know, the criticism of, like, racism, for example. Mm-hmm. So one thing I've found interesting, so when I saw that they analyzed my song, I was like, I just wrote this one song, posted it on Genius, and somebody, like, it just, like, got pulled into this aggregate, and somebody analyzed it, and they gave it, like, this really, like, deep meaning. And yes, that is what it meant, but I found that really odd. And then I decided, well, you know what? Let me post somebody who's lyrical, but maybe doesn't necessarily get enough credit for it. And so I had to analyze a Cameron song, like a Dipset song.
Yeah.
And I found the criticism of the song, or the interpretation, kind of racist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was like, it was like, you know, saying how it was, like, misogynistic and stuff. And I was like, yeah, a lot of rap music is misogynistic. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, that's fair if you want to criticize that. But then I was like, you know what? Let's contrast this with another song. And so I brought up Eminem's Kim.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so interesting how they gave Eminem so much more leeway for being misogynistic.
He's an artist. He's an auteur.
Yeah, exactly. For the song that he, like, was known to be, like, his sort of, like,
crossing the line,
most misogynistic song,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
So it was very, very intriguing to me.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying AI is already racist? Like, it's already, we're at the point where AI has basically been trained by culture to be a little bit racist.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's objective data on that.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so another thing is, like, because they gave my song such, like, I don't know, how can I put it? Like, they really, again, it's not wrong. It's not a wrong interpretation of the song, but I find that it was very charitable in a way, right? So it was like, they gave it, like, this, like, oh, this is, like, really, like, meaningful song. And it is, but in a sense, like, I didn't even necessarily intend for all of that meaning, let's say. And so part of me wonders, is like, did it also, like, scan my image, and is it giving me a more favorable interpretation?
Does AI know your race?
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. Exactly.
Bro, that is trippy. I don't know. How would it know? I guess it would
images
use
on the internet.
Yeah, it would use, like, some sort of, like, it would tap into your Instagram or something. It would find your social media output and then, like, scan your face based on its understanding of race, and then decide how charitable it wants to be in interpreting your song?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, dude. I think you're giving AI a little too much credit.
Bro.
I really do, man. Like, come on. Did you hear it? It's nuts.
Yes, but AI now, in the last, like, 2 years, has gone off the charts insane.
Yeah, I guess, but I still, okay, yeah. I might be, maybe I'm naive, man. Maybe I'm naive and I'm just living under a rock in my little fantasy world, but I have a hard time believing that AI would go out of its way to ascertain your race before judging your output. You know what I mean? Like, AI has to be like, oh, whoa, this guy's white. Like, we better be nice. I don't think the AI cares. Yeah, I just don't think it has that level of self-awareness even to be able to make those distinctions. Like, why would it care? Why would it even bother accessing your image?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
but why tie it to my name, though, right? Why not just have it as the pseudonym under the artist? You know what I mean?
I think it might have more to do with the type of language you use. might actually be a stronger indicator of your sort of level of education or your background or where you come from or all that kind of stuff, right? Like I'll bet if you fed it like an Aesop Rock song, that's, you know, Aesop Rock, who's known to have an incredibly dense vocabulary. The most, right? By a margin, versus if you fed him, I think we know this, what is it, the artist with the smallest vocabulary is like DMX, right? Yeah. So it's like, if you feed it, I don't know, even like a Migos song or something that is a little bit more rooted in a certain subculture, it may then, based on the slang used, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's how it's figuring out what your deal is or what your background is, or at least what you would assume is your background, right? So it may have less to do with race and more to do with sort of your slang or how you know, articulate the message you're trying to convey. You know what I mean? Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It makes sense what you're saying, but like, so you're saying like the self-aware. I'm not saying that because AI can't be self-aware yet, right? But the programmer, right?
Right.
I don't know. The soundboard was acting on its own a little bit.
That's what I'm saying, man. Don't be so sure. Might be too late. It could wake up today. It could be waking up right now, buddy.
Yeah, but the programmer might have a lack of self-awareness or blind spots, you know, like racism blind spots, let's say, right? Where like you're saying, like if they're favoring or disfavoring song because slang is used and because it's like, I don't know, quote unquote, more basic, I guess I could argue in a way that might be more, or that might be racist in of itself, right?
Look, I'm not a software engineer, okay, but I do have a, I don't know, an incredibly basic cursory understanding of how these AI systems work or how they're trained, so to speak. And I think a lot of it is just, you just send it off, man. It's like a child. You send it out into the world and you just pray that it comes back not a racist. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I do think in a lot of ways, these programmers, they may be set up, you know, like a parent, they set you up, they train you initially, and then they send it out into the world and let it train itself. Or AIs kind of train each other. You know what I'm saying? And at a certain point, it's like, what's that saying where it's like the one hand moves and the other hand like doesn't know what it's doing? Like, you know what I mean? This idea of like, you know, the hands they do unto themselves and the brain doesn't really, like the eyes don't know what's going on. Anyway, just this idea of at a certain point, I don't think even the programmers don't really know what's going on or the character of their own creations because they let them out. Because again, I think it's culture. I think it accesses articles and it accesses other music and it accesses scripts of other critiques, and then it makes its critiques, or it bases its critiques on those. You know what I mean? So I think if anything, it speaks more to
about the world.
Yeah.
And how it's a toxic wasteland.
Yes. I think it has more to do with, I don't think it's that the programmers are training the AIs to be racist. I think it's culture is training the AIs to be a little racist. And I think that says more about where we're at as a society than it does about anything else. God damn it. We finally got there, eh?
Yeah.
We finally got there. Society! Society!
We live in a society.
Way. God damn it. Oh my God. Yeah, there it is. All right, shut it down.
Yeah.
I actually did want to talk about, there's the Lil Yachty Drake song from the new Drake album. And he says some shit. Just speaking of misogyny.
Okay, yeah.
Have you heard this song?
No, I don't think so. But Drake's been criticized for misogynoir.
Another late night. That's it.
Okay. So yeah, it's recording now. So just to let you know.
So yeah, it's funny. So you were talking about how the AI made some assumptions, I guess, about the misogynistic intent of Cameron. Yeah. Right. And you know, that just reminded me, since we were talking about Drake and Lil Yachty, not to jump around too much, but there's this new Drake song.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll shuffle it all together. Wait, what? Beat? Okay, cool. All right. So, but no, he has this hook, and he says, "It's just another late night with my bitch. Just another late night with my bitch. I hate to even call her ass my bitch, because I love that hoe. Don't even make no sense."
Okay.
And it's just like, I don't know, dude. This shit cracks me up. You know, like in a way, I think Drake still got it. He still
that was Drake, not Lil Yachty?
That was Drake. That's Drake on the hook, and he's like, "I'm just out with my bitch." You know, out with my bitch. And then he's like, "I don't even know why I call her my bitch, because I love that hoe. Don't even make no sense." And it's just like, that's poetry, man. That's real. It's so funny to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Drake's been criticized in recent years for misogynoir, right? Which is the targeted misogyny against like black women, essentially, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, is Drake a misogynist? Even though it may be like a softer form of misogyny, I mean, I guess so, right? Like we were saying, like a lot of rap music is misogynistic, unfortunately, right?
I don't know. You know, Drake, what I love about Drake and what I think still endears him to me is he still has that sort of I'm 14 and this is deep sort of mentality when he, the way he approaches certain issues.
Sure. He's also very petty.
Sure. You know what I mean, though, right? Where it's like that whole thing of like, man, I can't believe that I've been calling these women bitches this whole time. Like, it's like, wow, man, what's going on with that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, Drake, come on, man. Like, you're like 36, bro. Like, you can't be doing this.
Right. Yeah, it's like, where's the self-awareness?
Yeah, you know, and even in his album titles, man, it's still, he can't shake that I'm 14 and this is deep doodling on the back of my notebook style of
okay, yeah, let's talk about it.
For my dogs.
Oh, right.
Know?
Honestly, never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah.
You know? If you're reading this, it's too late. Nothing was the same.
Yeah.
You know, even views from the 6 is a little, you know, it seems like the kind of thing you would like doodle on the back of a notebook in high school, right? And again, I like it. I think at the end of the day, it's like kind of what endears me to Drake in a lot of ways, that he has this almost kind of, I don't know, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I almost want to say juvenile approach to just the way he approaches certain issues. It's kind of funny to me, man. I don't know.
I mean, that line is hilarious.
That's amazing, right? Good stuff, yeah. But it's the chemistry though between him and Lil Yachty on that song is also, it's quite palpable. You know what I mean? Because you can tell that they're like pretty good friends.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny, man. Yeah, I never would have thought. Again, when we were back a couple years ago when we were doing that episode about Lil Yachty, I never would have assumed he'd be like one of Drake's best friend. You know, Drake's gonna be passing the torch to this guy in a couple of years. Just you wait.
I told you, man. I told you during that episode, Lil Yachty on the come up.
Yeah, dude.
It was a whole phenomenon.
No, you're right, man. Yeah. What can I say? You know.
I just remember, you know what started that was that I had read a review, I think, of the first Lil Boat mixtape or album in the New York Times.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, the fucking New York Times?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is something I have to pay attention to. Yeah, it was like in their art section. And I was like, okay. So that's why we did that whole like deep dive, because I was like, okay, there has to be something there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess it turned out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. So yeah, probably just gonna wrap up. Any like final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I don't know, man. It's good to be back. It's good to see you. I don't know exactly what. Geez, I suppose we should do plugs or something.
Yeah. Do you have like an Instagram or anything?
Gosh.
Like where can people find you?
Sure. I'm not on Twitter. Well, I guess I am on Twitter, but I don't know.
Don't use it much.
I'm not really on Twitter. Yeah.
Formerly, sorry, it's X now.
Oh, that's
formerly
right.
known as Twitter.
Formerly known as Twitter. I have a theory. If we could, real quick, I have a theory. Do you think Elon Musk is like intentionally sabotaging Twitter?
Yes.
You think he knows, right?
Yeah.
Like he knows Twitter is like awful.
Yeah.
And he's intentionally ruining it so that we as a human, like as a species, can move to the next step of evolution. You know, like I see Elon Musk as like a mutant, you know, like he's the first X-Man, and he's like the first iteration, the prototype of a new species. And he sees us all as his children, you know, and he's trying to move us all into the next phase of humanity. So Elon Musk is actually doing us a favor by ruining X.
I mean, I wouldn't give him that much credit. I don't think it's a positive thing. I think it's because he sees it or did see it as a platform that a lot of quote unquote social justice warriors were on, and that sort of like pissed him off from being on the other side of the political aisle, being like, okay, this is like a political tool that I'm now going to sabotage.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine like having that much power and influence that you could just do that?
It's pretty scary.
It's pretty scary. Yeah. But anyway, I'm on Instagram at McLaurin Tyler. I think that's pretty much it, man. And then I do want to hopefully provide some sort of information as to how to view this film that I'm a part of. I think I'm really proud of it, and I really do want people to see it. So that would sort of be my quick plug, you know. But anyway, what do you got going on, man? You got handles?
I do have handles.
You got handles, bro.
You can follow me on Twitter, just at Brian Capitow. Still check out deepfreezechillin.com, the website. It's not what it was. I'm just not paying for the whole kit and caboodle right now, but you know, you can look at our archives. You can check out that Lil Yachty episode. You know, another episode where we did about like Drake. It was all about Drake and just us cracking jokes on Drake. Yeah. Episode 9, Peak Drake. And then, I'm trying to think what else. Photos. I do photos on Instagram. You could check those out, I guess. I'll just have like it's subtitles there. So thank you, Tyler, for coming through. You've been awesome.
Thank you for having me, man. Oh, it's so good to be back. I love the new setup, and hopefully you'll have me back soon. We'll see how it goes, man. Yeah.
Sounds good. Just a little music to take us out.
Oh, this is awesome.
The Freeze
Podcast.
The Freeze
Podcast.
The Freeze